Education transformation is not optional. It's essential.
Familiar calls from the state's chief executive, Phil Scott, making a statement as he pushes to overhaul Vermont's education system.
This is ABC 22 News at 6.
Appreciate your time this Wednesday night. I'm Lauren Maloney. In a speech normally meant for talking about several issues facing a state, Governor Phil Scott focused on just one topic in his State of the State address today. It was education. He says improving the education system is necessary, and he will not sign any legislation this year that flies in the face of his transformation plan. ABC 22's Matt Holderman reports.
If there's one thing you take away from the speech today, it's this. Education transformation is not optional. It's essential.
Governor Phil Scott making a statement with his State of the State address Wednesday afternoon, taking a page out of Peter Shumlin's book and focusing exclusively on one topic, in this case, education. The governor thanked lawmakers for their work last session, passing the Education Transformation Bill, but he says that just laid the groundwork and the real work starts now. Setting the tone for the session, Scott put his foot down, saying he will not sign anything that flies in the face of his plan.
I want to be clear. I will not sign a budget or an education bill or tax bill that deviates from Act 73 or fails to fix what's broken.
The governor reaffirmed the next step for lawmakers is creating a map of newer, larger school districts, which the redistricting task force recently failed to do.
The legislature must prioritize drawing new district lines, and it should be the first order of business for the committees of jurisdiction. And from my perspective, the recent failure to produce maps was a political strategy to preserve the old system.
After the address, two of the top Democrats in the State House said they enjoyed what they heard and how much the governor seems to be prioritizing education and working to get lawmakers on board with him. But they say the way he went about it, threatening to veto anything that goes against what he wants, isn't the best approach.
So when statements are made about that, about threatening to veto the budget over different policy reforms, that's just, it's disappointing to hear.
I never agree with a veto threat because I'm the one being threatened. But what I would say is I voted for Act 73. I worked hard for it.
Up next is the governor's budget address, which he says he'll deliver in just under 2 weeks on Tuesday, January 20th. In that speech, he promises to dive more into depth on issues like health care, housing, and more, and Democrats say they look forward to hearing those ideas. Reporting at the State House, Matt Holderman, ABC 22 News.
Matt mentioned former Governor Peter Shumlin. 2014 was the last time a governor devoted this type of speech to one concern. At the time, Shumlin focused on what he called the rising tide of drug addiction and drug-related crimes, specifically mentioning opioids. Again, this was 12 years ago, and this remains an issue many states deal with, especially post-pandemic. National outlets picked up on the address at the time, including the New York Times.